Governor Maura Healey and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll in Western Mass this afternoon as they focus on housing and infrastructure needs. Western Mass News reporter Olivia Hickey joins us live now in studio with more on that. Olivia?
Chris, the Healey administration used their visit today to provide updates on how they plan to meet the needs of people across the Bay State. During their visit, they stopped by the residences at Mill 10, an affordable housing complex for people 55 and over. Governor Healey talking about two bills she has filed during her visit. First, the immediate needs bond bill, which seeks $987 million for critical housing and economic development programs across the state, including the construction and preservation of affordable rental housing and public housing. Second, a $400 million bill to support Mass Works, another outlet for housing production. Governor Healey says communities, including those in Western Mass, have benefited from these programs.
Towns like Ludlow have received several $1 million of Mass Works grants over the years, right, to support the redevelopment, in this instance, of this historic mill into mixed-use development.
Governor Maura Healey.
Remaining on the topic of housing, we asked Healey if her administration is working on support for residents continuing to be impacted by rising electricity costs.
I have a lot of sympathy for folks all over the state who are getting socked with high heating and electric bills right now. We will do everything as an administration in our power to fight for ratepayers, to protect ratepayers, but also to explore if there's opportunities for relief.
Healey says she will continue to visit Western Mass and bring attention to different projects the area has to offer. Reporting live in studio for Western Mass News 11 at 11, I'm Olivia Hickey.